once again, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. This is going to be a very interactive workshop. So it's how to stop scrolling on Zillow and actually get under contract in 90 days. And the reason I'm doing this is because I see so many people who are like, I want to get started investing in real estate, want to get started investing in real estate. And then it's a year, 2, 3 years later, and they don't actually get started. Right? So we're trying to stop the cycle there. Okay. So number one, congrats on showing up. Literally, I'm so excited. Showing up is the number one thing you have to do in order to get started. This is the same with real estate. This is the same with anything that you do in life. And there are so many people who signed up for this probably, right, who didn't end up showing up. So the fact that you're here is incredible, okay? This is going to be interactive. So sometime with these webinars and stuff, right, like you're just sitting and listening the entire time. There's going to be a little bit of that, but there is also going to be some stuff that you're going to be doing too. So I hope you're either in front of a computer or on a phone, so you can go ahead and start doing some of these things as well. Okay, so who am I? So for anyone who doesn't know, my name's Olivia Tati. I am a recovering engineer. I used to be an oil and gas engineer, which is very funny because everyone who meets me now, they're like, what? I am a real estate investor and a coach. I have a 7-figure portfolio and I'm a serial traveler. So I've been to 52 countries. I'm heading to Nicaragua in 2 weeks. I'm going to probably hit 55 by my 30th birthday, which will be later this year, which I'm very excited about. I'm also an interior designer, a YouTuber, content creator. A lot of y'all probably came here from the content that I created, and just a digital nomad, although I'm finally getting a home base that I love here in Colorado. But the thing that I wanted to state is it's important to learn from someone who is actually doing it, not just someone who has done it in the past, okay? Because there are so many people out there who have invested in real estate, but it's been like 5 years, 10 years, and the market has changed so much and it's constantly changing. So you want to make sure that you're always learning from someone who's doing it right now, okay? Okay, so this workshop is going to be for you if you're chugging along at your corporate job and you feel like your soul is quickly or slowly dying. That was me, okay? Or you hate trading 8 hours or more, right? Like I remember I was working 14-hour days, 16-hour days sometimes for a paycheck, and instead just want a more passive way to actually build long-term wealth. And then you want to spend more time traveling, making memories with the people that you love. And maybe it is you actually like your job, okay? But you just want to supplement your income, maybe go remote, or maybe you just know like deep down and within you that there's something more that you were supposed to do. There's something more, okay? Now, this masterclass is not going to be for you if you're looking to purchase commercial real estate. While I love commercial real estate and I plan on doing that next year, this is not what we're going to be going over here. It's very different. Also, it's this masterclass or workshop, right, is not going to be for you if you're looking to do more so rental arbitrage. You're not actually looking to own a property, or you're looking to use like subject to or seller financing or anything like that. Or if you just hate the idea of building long-term wealth through real estate, which I don't think is any of you, you wouldn't be on this call, right? And then last but not least, if you're not willing to just get a little bit uncomfortable to reach your goals, because anything worth doing in life, you have to get a little bit uncomfortable, okay? Start before you're ready. Surround yourself with like-minded people who are trying to accomplish the same goals as you. I've just seen this time and time again within my programs, within other people's programs. Like there's just this power, this beauty of getting into the room with other people who are actually trying to do the same thing that you are. Okay, so just a quick background on how I'm even here today, right? So as I said before, I used to be a chemical engineer. I have a master's in engineering and technology management. So I literally went through the whole process. I started working as an oil and gas engineer, going out to the offshore rigs. This is literally me, depressed AF on a helicopter, heading out to the offshore oil and gas platforms. But I just knew that it was never for me. Like I knew that this corporate life, this whole thing that I was doing, it just wasn't it. And it's so funny because this is a sticky note that I actually have from June 2017 that I wrote during one of my internships. And it's so funny because I wrote here as well as an engineer because I like didn't want to admit that I didn't really want to be an engineer, right? I was like, what else can I do? And you've got like photojournalist, an interior decorator, which is wild, travel blogger, so many different things. But it's like I always knew deep down inside, right, that this just wasn't for me. And I was in $25,000 worth of credit card debt. So y'all, like I literally started this journey. I know a lot of, some of you are coming in with some credit card debt. Some of you are maybe coming in with like a little bit of savings. Everyone starts somewhere, okay? And so during this time, I was like, I just don't think I want to do this. Let me maybe get my real estate license so I can pay off my credit card debt. I just thought like people made money in real estate. I didn't know what that meant. I thought it just meant selling houses, right? So I decided to get my real estate license. And as I got my real estate license, I started just learning more about real estate investing. And that's when my brain went, aha, this could be a great transition out of oil and gas, out of engineering, into something that I'm way more passionate about. And so I hustled. Okay. Like I was oil and gas engineer by day, real estate agent by night and lunchtimes and whatever other time that I could. So I was out there selling houses. I paid off all of my credit card debt within 8 months and got under contract on my first investment property because I was like, I know I want to buy a duplex. Like this is going to happen. I was so freaking determined and was able to get so much done. And then less than a year after that, quit my corporate job and went full in on real estate investing, picked up more properties, started an interior design business, now started a coaching program. And it's just crazy how things really start to move once you get focused, laser focused on what you actually want to do with your life. Okay. So now it's like I'm always traveling. As if you follow me on Instagram or YouTube or anything, you know I'm always all around the world. That's that financial freedom, that location freedom, that time freedom. And the big part of that is with real estate. Like literally, I think that what people don't realize with real estate, right? Or they do realize what they want is I can go travel and I always have income coming in, right? Like there's always money coming in because of my properties. So even if I shut down all of my other businesses, I'm good, And that's what we're really striving for, right? Is having that safety net from the real estate investment portfolio. And I just wanted to say here, like, cool your shot. This is literally like from one of my journal entries in 2021. I think I had just gotten back from Mexico and I was like, this is just firing me up to get a duplex, rent out the other side, Airbnb out my side, get Kiana a passport. I literally did get my dog a passport. We traveled to Portugal just like a couple years later. But this just opened up my mind to so much more. So cool your shot, write down your goals, write them down because you never know like what's going to happen. And when you write it down, you're going to look back and be like, see, I literally called it. Okay. Now, for everyone who's on the call, like, why do you want to be a real estate investor? Can you drop it in the chat? Why do you want to be a real estate investor? Like, is it time freedom? Is it financial freedom? Do you want to quit your job? The flexibility? Yeah, that's huge. The flex to build your net worth. Amazing. What else? To have something tangible. Yes. Time and location freedom. I love that. Time freedom, diversified income. Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's why we do it all for. Okay. Now, what is holding you back right now from investing? What's holding you back? Money. Yep, totally. What else? Cash flow, picking the right place. Okay, no capital, insecure about the process. Yep. Want more into picking the right places, knowing how to make it happen, coming from the corporate. Yes, 100%. Okay, I love that. So, here's what I typically hear, right? Is like, you don't know the first steps you need to take. You're terrified of making a big mistake and it just like completely draining your bank account, right? You have no idea what a good deal even looks like or like how to even get the money to make it happen, right? And so here are also just some common fears that I see with a lot of people. And I've coached like over 50 people now actually get their first property. And so a lot of the time it's like they're worried. You're worried that you're unable to figure this out by yourself, or you're worried about any major expenses that come up. Maybe you're worried about your ability to actually get renters, right? And like now you have this big mortgage, like how am I going to get renters so you don't have to cover it all by yourself? So I want to make sure like this workshop is going to be interactive, right? So I'm going to be asking you to write things down. I'm going to be asking you guys to share. If you stay until the end, you do get an exclusive gift, and there's going to be an additional live Q&A. I even made this session a little bit longer than I usually do, just because I know that they tend to go over and people have a lot of questions. So make sure to stay till the end so you are able to answer that, okay? Or ask whatever questions you have. Okay, so Today, I'm so excited with you. I'm going to be sharing with you my 4-part framework on how to actually stop scrolling on Zillow and get under contract. Okay. And so here are some examples. Literally, this isn't even all of them, of students within the coaching program who, in the last couple of months, have been able to get under contract on a property. And for so many of them, they've been wanting to get to buy properties for few months, for a few years, and we're really struggling. And it was by following this framework and really understanding the entire process and taking action, they were actually able to get under contract. Okay. So number one, this is the first thing, and this is with any freaking thing that you want to do. This is getting a property. This is starting a business. This is maybe going to go travel. Define your goal. Okay. And then I'm going to want you to write some of these down. So define your goal. Have you asked yourself these questions yet? What do you actually want your life to look like? I think so many people were like, oh yeah, I want time freedom. I want, big financial freedom. But what does your life actually look like when you reach that? Okay. What are we working towards here? Because you don't want to like wake up in 5 years, 10 years, look back and be like, where was I even heading? Right. Number two is, where do you want to be in 1 year? Okay. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you actually see yourself? And number three is, what do you actually want to achieve with real estate? Is it cash flow? Is it equity? Like what are you, is it just to have a vacation home so that you have another place to travel to? What do you actually want to do? So I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes to actually write these down. Like I literally want you guys to write these down, and I'm going to be calling on one of you to type it in, or maybe even get off of mute and like say what that is for you. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys we'll give you 3 minutes. We're going to give you 3 minutes to write the answer to these questions down. Okay. Okay, we are 3 minutes in. So I'm going to pick on one of you, okay? So let's go with Joanna. Joanna, do you want to come off mute real quick and just tell me the answer to one of those questions? Like, what do you want your life to look like?
Oh man, I can't believe you picked me. Okay. I want my life I see it slow. And what I mean by that is waking up, not feeling rushed or anxious to get to work, enjoying my coffee, and literally just zoning out in my backyard where I can see nothing but trees and sun rays peeking through. That
I
is
love that.
that is number one.
I absolutely love that. And that is an amazing, amazing goal. I'm really tapping into that feeling. So I freaking love that. Amazing, amazing. And
Thank you.
keep that idea, keep that vision, right? Top of mind always. Okay, I'm gonna call one more person. Let's go with Gabby.
Just the same question.
Yes, either or let's try, what do you actually want to achieve with real estate?
So definitely cash flow, time freedom, as much travel as I possibly can, location freedom, and then just to build a nice life for like my future family.
Amazing. I love that. I love that. So remember, whenever we're going, through real estate investing, through whatever we're doing, we want to keep our goals top of mind. Okay. So make sure you keep that at the top of your mind. Now, here's the real question is, are your actions today supporting where you want to be? Okay, and now you don't need, I have my vision written out and really, yes, exactly. And if people don't have their visions actually written out, like I literally have a journal entry from now it's like 4 years in the future of where my life is going to be. And it's already so crazy because so many parts of it have already started to come to life. But yeah, write that vivid vision down of what you actually want your life to be. Like the real question too is, are your actions today supporting where you want to be? I was literally on a coaching session with my girls last night, and it was like, look back at the last 2 weeks. Are the actions that you took during the last 2 weeks supporting where you want to go? And if not, you got to change it, right? Because if you're not doing the actions that are actually going to take you to where you're going to go, you're going to wake up in a year and be like, why am I still here? Right? Okay. So part 2 of the framework is figure out your buy box. Now we are going to go over exactly what a buy box is here, but this is one of the most important things because what happens to a lot of us is we get really excited, right? Like I want to buy real estate, and you start scrolling on Zillow and you're like, there's a lot of houses and I don't know, maybe something looks good, maybe it doesn't look good. I don't really know. I haven't actually done the work to figure out what a good property looks like, right? Or what makes sense for me, okay? So we're gonna really be diving deep into this. Okay, so a buy box is a list of criteria that a property must meet to qualify for purchase for you, okay? So you need to create a list of criteria that actually matches the kind of property you want to buy. So these are the things you got to think of: location, property type, property condition, the price range, the investment strategy, like, right, are you going to go medium-term rental, long-term rental, short-term rental, the property size, are you going to go with a bigger place, or are you going to go with a smaller place? What's your target cash flow? These are all things you need to take into account when, and it doesn't necessarily mean that like you only have one thing for each, but for a lot of them, you're really narrowing it down to like one or two things or a range, right? Now, we all want the big, beautiful house in the best part of town, but is that actually going to get you closer to your goals? I remember when I was in corporate America, right? Like, I'm just this engineer. Everyone around me is like buying these big houses, like maybe a 3-bedroom house, maybe a 2-bedroom house, maybe they're starting a family, all this stuff. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't think this is like, if I get a regular house like that, I don't think that's actually going to support my goals of reaching financial freedom and maybe quitting my job. That's just adding an extra expense. So I was really like, okay, I want to buy an investment property. I want to buy something that is going to put more money in my pocket, not less, right? So that is what we have to go in with the mindset of. Okay, so your buy box comes with two specific things that you need to take into consideration. How much can you actually afford? Like I said before, we will want the big house in the best part of town, but like, how much can you actually purchase? And we're gonna go over exactly what you need to do to figure that out. And then what's available in the market, because we can have all these grand ideas of what we want, but if there's no, the property doesn't exist, then it doesn't really matter, right? Okay, so first, how much can you actually afford? Now, how much you can qualify for is different than how much you can afford. So first, we're going to go over how much you can qualify for, then we're going to look at how much you can actually afford. So in order to figure out how much you can qualify for, this is kind of like your back of the napkin calculation that you're going to do. You're going to take your gross pre-tax salary. So let's say, oops, I spelled that wrong, but that's okay. Let's say your salary, right, is 120,000. We're going to do that for math's sake. But, or let's say it's your combined salary with your spouse, or maybe you yourself are making 120,000. I remember when I quit my corporate job, I was making about 130K a year, right? So we're going to take that 120,000 and divide it by 12. So that's going to get you to that $10,000 number. So I want everyone to actually do that right now. What is your pre-tax salary, the salary that your job is giving you? Take that amount and divide it by 12. That's going to give you a number, whatever that number is for you. Everyone do that? You just give me a thumbs up or say yes in the chat to make sure so that I know that you did it. Perfect. Yes, yes. Awesome. Okay, love it. Okay, so once you have that number, you're going to multiply that number by 0.5. So for example, here I had that 10,000 and I multiplied it by 0.5. So make sure if you have your phone calculator, whatever that looks like, multiply that by 0.45, sorry. Okay, so once you have done that, you need to subtract your monthly debts. So let's say you have student loan payments, maybe your credit card minimums, maybe your car payments, any other personal loans. You're going to take that amount and subtract it from that initial amount that we calculated in step 2. So, let's say your student loan, like for this example, let's say someone has student loan payments and they're paying $600 a month on their student loan payments. And then they have your credit card minimum. So this is like the minimum amount. Like, let's say you have $5,000 worth of credit card debt and your minimum amount that you have to pay each month is $100. So you're going to put your credit card minimum in there, and then your car payment is $400. So don't take into account any utilities, car insurance, or phone bills, anything like that. If you do have a mortgage, you can put that in there as well. So in this case, 4,500 minus that 600 minus that 100 minus 400, that is going to be $3,400. So that is the max mortgage payment, just around max mortgage payment that you can actually afford, or that a lender is going to qualify you for. So were you guys able to make that calculation? And you can kind of do ballpark right now. Like, let's say you don't know exactly what your credit card minimum is. Yep, we got it. Awesome. How's everyone else doing? Were you able to get it? Got it, Terla, got it. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. And notice that this is just for traditional lending. There are other ways that you can buy properties, but we're specifically going to go over traditional lending, and it's just like a good rule of thumb to have, okay? Especially if you are going into buying a property. Okay, now step 4. So this is the maximum mortgage payment you will likely qualify for with a traditional lender. Now, what you can do is you can actually plug this number into a mortgage calculator like Bankrate. So if you literally go into Google, you type in Bankrate mortgage calculator, I'll show you what it looks like. You can then toggle around with it. So for this previous example, right, this $3,400, in this example, a person could afford about $500,000 if they had a $25,000 down payment, okay? Now, this is important to know because then you know what you're working towards, right? Because people are like, I want to buy a house, I want to buy a house. And then they're like, I have $0. And it's like, cool, great starting point, but you're going to probably have to save a little bit of money. And that's where I was at. I had no savings. I had $25,000 worth of credit card debt. I was like, I don't know how much it costs to buy property. I thought you needed like $100,000. You actually don't. There's so many different ways to do it with low down payment loans. And I've done a lot of other workshops and webinars about that. So we're not specifically going to be going over that during here. And we go over that a lot in the coaching program and really figuring out what's the best strategy for you, because it's going to be different for everyone. But with this mortgage calculator and Bankrate, you can actually go in and toggle around with it. So what you're going to do is you want to get this number to as close as the number that you found in step 3, okay? So Bankrate mortgage calculator. And then, so in order to get to this number, all I did was toggle around with the home price and the down payment, okay? And you just want to make sure they're going to tell you like what the average interest rate is. Depending on what loan you use though, it could be a lot lower. Like one of my students, Corey, she got under contract and her interest rate is going to be like 5.75 because she's going with a NACA loan, which is 0% down, 0 closing costs as well. So there's so many different strategies to do this. And then there's so many different nuances, but this is just a good rule of thumb so you can figure out what is going to work for you. Now, how much can you actually, that's how much you can qualify for, right? So how much can you actually afford? Okay. You do have the down payment, you have closing costs, and depending on what strategy, if you're going to go Airbnb, if you're going to go a medium furnished rental, or if you're just going to go a long-term rental, you're also going to have furnishings that you're going to have to pay for upfront too. Now, as I said before, there are so many different ways that you can purchase this. Like if you've been to any of my other webinars or workshops, or if you're in the, like, I know I have some students here who are actually in the coaching program, they know that there's so many other lending programs where you can put as little as 0% down and 0% in closing costs. But you still want to have a little bit of money saved. So even with those programs, you do need a little bit of money saved. So just in case shit hits the fan, and sorry for swearing, but that's fine. Okay, so these costs though, down payment, closing costs, furniture, they can either come from your money or they can come from other people's money. So if it's coming from your money, it's either coming from your savings account, it's coming from your retirement funds. Maybe you own a property right now that you're living in and you can use some home equity to purchase an investment property. Maybe it comes from your stock portfolio, anything like that. So like a Roth IRA or a 401k. There's so many different ways that you can do it. Now, it can also come from other people's money. So if you have someone in your family who's like, hey, I want to give you $5,000 gifted funds, amazing. I think people get really weird about like taking money from other people sometimes, but like if your parents like saved out some money, use the money, girl, like run, like take the money and run. Okay. Or you can do private money, right? And there are different ways. I've used private money. I've used partnerships before to actually purchase properties, meaning you're using money that other people have and they're investing with you, and then you return the money back to them. So there's different ways and strategies, and in the coaching program we go over that like literally so extensively, and I cannot get through it in like an hour-long session, but there's so many different ways that you can actually do this. If you are within 6 months of buying a house though, just get pre-approved, okay? Just get pre-approved. You can go ahead and do all the calculations, but just get pre-approved because they're going to tell you exactly how much you can afford from a traditional lending standpoint, okay? Now, if you are at that point where you're like, I know I want to buy a house by the end of the year, or I know I want to buy a house this year, or maybe I'm ready, right? You can reach out to my lender. He can help you out. You can reach out to any other lender, but if you do need a lender contact, snap a picture of this. You're also going to get the recording for this workshop at the end too. So that's totally, you'll be able to contact him and get pre-approved if that's what makes sense for you. Now, the other side of the buy box, figuring out that buy box, right, is what's actually available on the market, right? So if you're looking in an area where there are no duplexes, but you're like, I want a duplex, stop looking at duplexes in that area, or stop looking at that area, okay? Or let's say you're like, oh, well, I really want to do the method where, you know, I can buy something and rent out the basement, but there are no basements in your area, so it doesn't really make sense. So it probably doesn't make sense for you to look up basements, right? So I think a lot of the time, you know, you'll get on social media or you get in the podcast and they're like, do this strategy, and you're like, this doesn't work in my area, right? Maybe you're saying, I can't find anything that works, or there are no good deals on the market. Stop saying that, because literally in every single market out there, there are people who are investing in real estate. Every single market, in every city, every state, okay? Start asking the right questions, okay? Ask yourself, what is actually working in this market? How can I make it work in this market, right? How are other people making it work in this market? So the first thing you want to do is, let's say you want to buy, I'm currently in Denver right now. What I would Google is house hacking in Denver. And like a forum that I really love to look at is the Bigger Pockets forum, because they always have people asking questions in there of like, what's working in different markets. So, or for example, I want to do fix and flips in New Orleans, and I'm going to Google flipping in New Orleans. I'm going to look at this Bigger Pockets forums and be like, ooh, let me see how other people are doing it, right? Investing in upstate New York, like, let's see what other people are doing so that I can leverage that and see what's working. Because sometimes you can get so bogged down because you're like, I want to get started, but I don't really know where to start. And it's like, yeah, I mean, because there's so many different ways to do it. So let's start asking the right questions to figure out what makes sense for you in whatever market that you want to do it in. Okay, so I want everyone to pick a market. So if you want to either house hack or if you want to buy an investment property somewhere else, put in the chat where you're looking for. What market are you looking at? Chicago. Oh my gosh, love that. Actually, Cyan, one of our students, she is probably going to go under contract next month. Well, next month's already tomorrow in Chicago. So I love that. Houston, Austin, love that. Curry just got under contract in Houston, Arizona, Boston, Montana, house hacking in California. I love that. Also, if anyone doesn't know, I actually have a podcast called the Wanderlust Wealth Show. The person who was on it on Monday, so yesterday, she was house hacking. She started off house hacking in California. Cleveland, Texas, North Carolina, Puerto Rico. Ooh, I love Puerto Rico. Amazing. Okay, these are all awesome. What I want you to do, first off, Google right now, like in this session, you're here for, oh, thank you. I love that you enjoy the podcast. But you're here for a reason. Okay, so I want you to Google whatever strategy you're thinking. Let's say it's house hacking. Let's say it's buying a duplex. Let's say it's flipping a house. Let's say it's just a long-term hold, buying a property as a long-term rental. Google right now your strategy in whatever area you're looking at. And I want you to go in and see if there's a Bigger Pockets like forum that states something about that market. So I'm going to give you literally a minute or 30 seconds. I want you to Google it and come back to me and say either yes or no if there's some information out there on the internet about that market and like strategies in that market. You got like 485. Yep. Yes. Who else? Yep. Totally. Yep. Exactly. Guys, and that's what I'm saying. There's so much information out there on the internet. It just can feel super overwhelming, and it's learning to ask those right questions. And that's what I really focus on with all my students. It's like, how do we keep asking the right questions? Because with real estate, you got to pivot a lot of times. Sometimes you kind of go in with this idea of exactly what you want to do. And you're like, actually, I don't know if it's going to work. Like, we're going to need to pivot. So take a second now to go browse on Zillow. Are there any property, and it doesn't, you don't have to look at it perfectly or whatever, but is there something maybe that you could be like, oh, this could be something that I could look into a little bit further? Like, I'm going to give you another 20 seconds. And whenever you find a property, I want you to say yes. Or I want you to say something different. I want you to say property. Love it. Anyone else? Did you find anything on the market there? Something that you could potentially look into further that might work. Property. Yeah, there we go. Love it. Okay, so just doing this, right? You're starting to see like there are things out there. There are so many things out there. It's just actually, and I'm jumping ahead of myself here. We're just not trying to jump too far forward in terms of the different steps, but there are so many different properties out there. So what we start doing is, oh, I love a good foreclosure. What we start doing then, the more we start looking at these properties, we want to develop our buy box. Everyone's buy box is going to be a little bit different, but from the research that we're doing, from figuring out how much we can actually afford, from figuring out what's going to work for us, right? And Googling and seeing what strategies are working for other people that maybe we can copy or take some inspiration from. Then we're going to develop our own buy box. So this is literally my buy box that I created for myself when I was purchasing my first property in 2021. Okay, so my first property, I was in New Orleans. That's literally me. This is a funny story, but I actually even told them that I wanted like cheerful yellow doors. It was a new construction. I was like, I want cheerful yellow doors. So I forced them to paint it. But I was looking at specifically New Orleans up and coming areas because a lot of the really, really nice areas I just couldn't afford. Like for what I was trying to do, it didn't make sense for me, right? I was going to be paying way more than I was actually going to be making on a property. And I was determined. I was like, I'm living for free. I am minimizing my living expenses. I want cash flow, right? So you got to be, that's why we get really clear on our goals. What do we actually want? So this is what I was looking at in terms of location. Then for me, I started looking at, okay, I don't really want a single family home. They do work. Single family homes do work, but I was looking at like, oops, sorry, make sure that you're on mute. Okay. I was looking at duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. I really wanted to get a multifamily property because I really wanted multiple streams of income and I was planning on living on the property. So I needed income coming from one of the sides, right? And then, and we'll go over a few things after, but I personally had a really demanding job. I was also a realtor. I was doing so much where I just needed a new construction or something where I really didn't have to do that much work to it. Like maybe I could work on it for a week nonstop, which is exactly what I did. But I wasn't at the point where I had so much time that I wanted to work on it. And I didn't have a ton of extra money too. Although at the time, I didn't know of some loans that you can use where you don't have to have an extra ton of money to actually do renovations and stuff like that. But at the time, I was like, I just want something easy. This is my first property. I want something easy that it's not going to like give me a headache, right? And now I obviously am able to do so many different things and I coach my students on how to do different things. But at the time, this is where I was at. I didn't have a support system, you know? And then price range. At the time, for me, below $450,000 is what made sense for my numbers. It's what made sense from a loan standpoint. So that's what I was determined. And my investment strategy was house hacking. And the only real requirement I had was that my unit had to be at least a 1 bedroom. That's really all I cared about. I don't need that much space. It's me and my dog, right? And my target cash flow is my goal with the property, because remember what I was saying before is while I was living there, I just wanted to live for free. Like even if it broke even and I was living for free, that was great because that way I wasn't having to pay my $1,800 like rent payment, right? And I was like, okay, that's another $1,800 a month in my pocket. Amazing. And also once I left, it had to have over $1,000 a month in cash flow whenever I moved out. It does way better than that. And if you follow me on YouTube, you've seen all my numbers and everything. I tend to be pretty transparent about things. But like that was my baseline bare minimum. That was my goal, right? Especially for my first property. I was like, it doesn't need to be a home run. I know I just need to get started and I need to be better off than I was before, right? Because we're just taking incremental steps each time to be better off than we were a year ago, right? Now, disclaimer, the perfect property may not exist, okay? You're probably going to have to make some compromises. Like I had to make some compromises in terms of location, right? That is okay. So and you have to figure out what are some of the non-negotiables for you. And are you buying a property that you're living in, or are you buying a property that is going to be just a full-time investment property, right? So you need to figure that out for yourself. And that's going to come back to your goals. Like, what are your goals? What are you trying to do with your property? That's going to help you determine how you do this, okay? Now, always be prepared to pivot. Okay, because like I was saying before, we get into this like zone where we're like, I want a property like this, and then you start looking in the market and you're like, wait, this doesn't work. Like, like the numbers aren't panning out. So you have to be flexible and be like, okay, cool, that doesn't work. Let me pivot and do it a slightly different way. And so the exact same thing happened to Corey. So she joined the Wanderlust Wealth Academy coaching program about a couple months ago now. And it was so funny because she was feeling super excited, super inspired, which was amazing at the beginning. She started looking at duplexes and triplexes and was like, that's what I'm going to do. But then when she was actually getting pre-approved, and this is why I tell you, go get pre-approved because it's going to tell you what you can actually do. She wasn't qualifying for duplexes and triplexes in the ranges that she wanted in Houston that were new construction and all of that. So she had to have a pivot, right? Like she completely pivoted her strategy to buying something that had 3 bedrooms that she could rent out each of the bedrooms. She was going to be traveling a lot. So it would just essentially be a full-time rental property at a phenomenal price. And literally 2 days ago, got under contract. And I'm like, yes, let's go. And she's able to do it with a 0% down loan with 0 in closing costs, which is huge, literally huge. Like who here doesn't want a property for 0% down with 0 closing costs? Like, tell me. Like, if you don't want a property, put it in the chat. And I expect no one to actually put anything in the chat. Okay, so part 4 of the framework is actually analyzing properties, okay? Like you have to actually go in and analyze properties because what happens to a lot of people is you start scrolling, you start looking, you're like, okay, like there's stuff on the market. Have you actually analyzed a deal? Especially when, and this is, you know, students come to me in the program all the time. They're like, oh, I can't find anything. I'm like, okay, how many deals did you run numbers on? None or 1 or 2. I'm like, girl, you got to be running a lot more numbers than that, right? So you want to get to a point where you can literally see a property pop on the market and you already know if it's going to work or not, right? Because you've already ran numbers on so many different properties in the area. You've gotten really clear about your buy box. You don't even have to run the numbers because you just know at this point. You have run the numbers. So what goes into the numbers? Whenever you're looking at rental, and this is specifically for rental properties, right? You're going to be looking at your income and your expenses. Those are your 2 main buckets. And this is not including obviously the down payment and closing costs and all of that, but your income and expenses are what's going to determine everything. So in your income, you've got long-term rental, you're going to be getting rent, right? Medium-term rentals, you're also going to be getting rent. Short-term rent is a little different, right? Because you're doing it through Airbnb. So you're looking at average daily rate and your occupancy. Now, we're not going to go too in depth into average daily rate and occupancy. If you're in, I know we've got some WWA students in the call right now, but you know, that's all in the coaching program. It tells you exactly how to figure out how much rent is everywhere, but you need to be able to go in and actually figure that out and put that in the spreadsheet when I'll show you how to get access to that. But there are some additional ways you can create income, right? Through cleaning fees, if you're doing short-term rentals or medium-term rentals or long-term rentals, garage storage, parking. There's so many different ways where you can, or like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot about this one, but Liz, for example, she's under contract on a duplex right now. She's in WWA and she has a laundry unit. So like the old owners have coin operated washer dryers in the units. And so she's going to be collecting, like she's probably going to get someone to collect that for her. And that's extra income that's probably going to pay for the washer dryer whenever the washer dryer goes kaput in 5 years or 10 years or anything like that. So you're always thinking about, okay, what are some extra ways I can bring income? Right now I'm buying here in Colorado. I'm looking at places with garages that I can turn into a podcasting studio. So I do a lot of podcasting. I know some of you guys listen to the podcast, but like I want to be able to rent that out to other creators in the area because that's also extra income. And I don't need to be using the podcasting studio 24/7, but if I can convert the space into something that generates income, that's what you're always thinking about. Okay. Now, the second thing obviously is expenses. Oh, I know I wrote 3 here, but I meant 2. Expenses. So mortgage, you got your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Your lender is going to tell you how much that is. You can also look on whenever you're doing things on Zillow or in bank rate, it will tell you how much those are. Really, you just want the whole amount. Like, what is that whole amount? And for certain places, you may have extra insurance. You may have extra interest if you're putting less than 20% down. In New Orleans, for example, you got to get flood insurance because it's New Orleans and floods and hurricanes happen, right? So you want to get more insurance. You want to take that into account. That's part of your expenses. Utilities, gas, water, electric, internet, safety systems, vacancy. Vacancy, so what vacancy is a lot of the time, you know, properties aren't filled 100% of the time. None of my properties is filled 100%. They vary depending on the property from 70 to 90% filled. So you want to take into account the days where it's not filled, because that's a part of your expenses, okay? And then repairs and maintenance. You're buying a property, right? So things happen, right? Like maybe the washer dryer goes out. That happened to me once, where my washer dryer went out, but I was able to pay for it through the cash flow on my property. So I like haven't had to pay any of my expenses or anything like that from my own pocket. It all comes from the cash flow that's coming from the property, because we're trying to buy cash flowing assets, especially if that is your goal, is to buy cash flowing asset. That's something that you want to look into. If you're instead trying to buy an appreciating asset, or maybe you want just like a second home or something like that, it's a little bit different. So that's why we go back to our goals. Like, what are the key, what is your goal at the end of the day? Now, if you're like, okay, cool, expenses, income, I get it. How do I actually calculate any of this? I actually have a calculator. It's totally free. Feel free to sign up for it. You can either type in that website or just DM me the word calc on Instagram. A little like automated message will send to you. I just use the automated messages because a lot of people ask for it, and it's impossible for me to send a calculator link out to like 300, 400 people. But feel free to get that. Make sure you download it, because then if you download it to your Google Drive or to your computer, you can go in, you can edit it, you can change whatever you want. It's for you to use. But yes, you have access to that. Okay, the fourth and most important part of this framework of actually getting under contract is you got to put an offer in. Okay, so who here has put an offer in on a property yet, like this year? Has anyone? Not this year. Okay. Anyone? Next step, love it. But last year, amazing. Yeah, so what happens for a lot of people, right, is they start just like thinking, and they're like, okay, cool, I want to buy property, I want to buy property, I want to buy a property, but they don't actually put the offer in. So it's like, I remember for me, for example, when I was first looking at properties, I just kept looking, right? Like I was just looking, I'm always browsing. I knew I wanted to buy something, but it was just kind of like there. I knew I wanted to do it, but didn't want to get in, until my lender was like, I sent her a property. I was like, oh, this looks cool. She's like, okay, like get pre-approved and put an offer in. I was like, oh no, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready yet. You know, it's like, just get pre-approved and put an offer in. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just try. I don't think I'll get, because I was still in a little bit of credit card debt. I was like, I'll just try and see what I get qualified for. And they're like, yeah, you qualify for it. I'm like, oh, let me put an offer in. And the funny thing is, like, that property, I literally put an offer in for $100,000 less than the asking price. They said no. But that one act of putting an offer in was huge. Okay. That was huge, because I was like, oh, snap. Like, just put an offer in and see what happens. If you get under contract, amazing. And this has happened for so many of my students too. It's like, just actually put an offer in and see what happens. Like, it's not binding. You know, you can always get out of it. But it puts a fire under your butt, because now you're like, especially if it does get accepted, you're like, oh crap, I'm under contract. Let's figure this out. Like, can I figure this out? Can I make it work? Right? Versus being like, oh, I don't know. Like, maybe I should. I don't know. Okay. So you can be the best property analyzer in the world, best property analyzer. But the only reason that people are ahead of you is because they got in the game, they got started, and they kept moving. I think that's the big thing, because a lot of time people will like get the first property, then it might be a year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 years before they actually get their next property. And it's like, you got to keep your goals top of mind and actually keep going. Rip the Band-Aid off and put an offer in. You just need to get your first deal. Okay. So the thing that I see that's holding most people back is mindset. Okay. So I've literally been exactly where you guys are right now. Like, literally, this is me working my corporate job, like you can see like a bunch of computer screens behind here. This is me like on the oil and gas platform during COVID, like literally kill me. My credit score, right? Then this is from 2021, started at like 633. I think it started lower than that. And then got up to, now it's literally never gotten below 760. I get it. I get it. It can feel so paralyzing. It can be like, oh, but I just like don't really know. And you start mulling in your brain. And this is why it's so important to get in the room. Like, you have to get in the room with people who are doing the things that you want to do. It's so important because when you go at it alone, it's so easy to get in your brain. And this is why I'm constantly like in programs, going to conferences, all this stuff, because I want to be around people who are action takers, right? And a lot of times, like, you don't know where to start. There's no clear action plan. There's no personalized support. You're just in this like analysis paralysis, and it's so frustrating, right? You can be like, I don't, and then you wake up in a year, 2 years, 3 years, and you're like, how am I still here? And this happened to literally Cyan. She's in the coaching program, and she had been looking for a property since 2021. This is 2021, and just kept kind of getting into the same cycles of like paying off debt and then getting into debt and then paying off debt and then getting back into that. And just like not having that support system was really rough. And it's like the same with anything. It's the same with everything that we do. And this is why we go to school and this is why we go to work. It's like having that accountability. So wouldn't it be better if someone could actually hold your hand along the way, right? Like have a clear roadmap on how to get your first or your second property or your third property. Like literally I have one student who's going to be getting her third property this year already. And just a network of experienced investors to weigh in on questions and decisions and have that supportive community for those times when you're feeling down and you're like, I don't know how to keep going, or like, I'm going to give up and maybe, transition, and maybe I'll go into stocks or maybe I'll go into something else. Like, you gotta stay committed. So having that people, it's kind of like, when you get you start working out, right? And you're super gung-ho at the beginning, you're ready to go, and then it's like 2-3 weeks later and you stop going to the gym because you have no one to go with. Maybe you don't have a coach or an accountability partner. This is why we create this program, right? So these are literally some of the students in the coaching program in WWA who have seen, and it's so funny. I always update this and I just keep adding and adding things and taking things out and adding things because there's always things coming up. But just like such a supportive community. And the wins aren't just, getting under contract on a property. It's like getting that first booking. It's reaching that 10K savings goal that you've been trying to do for a year or two now, or paying off credit card debt that you've been trying to do for a year or two now and haven't actually gotten there. So basically, at the end of this, I am inviting you to book a free strategy call with me. So speak up. Yes, it's so true. It's so true. So this free call is for you if you're interested in investing in real estate. You know that it's in your future, but just need a clear idea of what you wanted, of what to do, when you're ready to buy, or like, and have that support throughout the entire process, right? Because I think sometimes it's like, okay, you buy the property, like, how do I scale, or how do I furnish it? There's so many different questions that pop up throughout the process. Or if you're ready to just buy your first property and just need the accountability and guidance on the next steps. So for the first 10 people that do book for 48 hours only, literally only 48 hours, the first 10 people that book, you do get 40% off the Wanderlust Wealth Academy VIP coaching program. So if you sign up, you're going to get that 40% discount, which is huge. And then you'll also get the course in the back end that is completely free, as well as the bonus, which is the Wealthy Way Roadmap, which really like teaches you on how to pay off debt and save up for a down payment for your first investment property. So that is all I have today. Feel free, and you're going to be getting this obviously in video format. If you want to sign up for the coaching call, or not for the coaching call, but for the free consultation call with me, go ahead and do that. You have only 48 hours to do that. But now we can go into Q&A. So this is literally a free-for-all for anyone who has questions. Like, I'm here to answer any questions that you have. And you can just like put your hand up, I think, and then I can see what questions, who has a question. Oh, I think are you on mute? Supposed to be on mute? Awesome. Do we have any other any question? Oh, wait, we got something. How about buying when you don't have a steady paycheck? Yeah, totally. So there are so many different ways to do this. I actually have a podcast coming out with one of my lenders who, I guess, if you want, do you want to get off of mute? Because then I can hear a little bit more about like your situation, just because it's a little bit different for everyone. But for example, okay, perfect. But yeah, there are different options that you have. There's creative financing, or you can even go through traditional lenders. So it really depends on how long you have not had a steady paycheck for. If it's been longer than 2 years, then that's going to be really easy. But even if it's been less than 2 years, there are lenders who will essentially use the last 12 months of bank statements that you have and use that to pre-qualify you. So it just kind of depends. And that's why I say, if you want to get off of mute, I can kind of give you a little bit more information there.
Yeah, no, actually, that might have just answered my question. As an entrepreneur, obviously, my paycheck 1 month you make 10,000, and then the next month you make 0, and then a month later, oh look, there's 30,000, and then
Yeah.
5 months there's 0, right? So it's not a flex, and that's always been how do I do this? I can't figure out how to actually do the loany thing. For me, that's really difficult. Like I might be able to say like I have 50,000, I can put it down, but I can't prove like 120K a year of a steady paycheck coming in.
Totally.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I would say for you, I would start with like one of my lenders. She does the whole bank statement thing. So she'll literally look at the last 12 months of your bank statement and she'll use that to qualify you for a property. Oh, you have an answer for her? Yeah, go for it, Michelle. And then, but I guess other methods too are creative financing, right? So you can go the seller financing route. How much do you know about like seller financing or subject to or anything like that?
I know absolutely nothing about seller financing.
Okay. Yes. So that's literally a strategy that I'm planning on doing this year, is going the creative financing route, just because I'm like, it's like a fun challenge for me more than anything else. I'm like, I just want to do it and then show everyone else how to do it. But yeah, that's a route that you can choose to do as well, which doesn't go through banks, right? It doesn't use banks. You don't have to get pre-qualified. You don't have to get pre-approved for it. You literally just go and you directly negotiate with the seller.
Oh, I like this. I would, okay, well, I'll follow your adventures then, because I'm very curious
Yes,
about
you
how
should
that
just
works.
go ahead and book a call if you want,
Yeah.
and then we can
Okay.
go over things more as well.
So I had an answer for her. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, go for it, Michelle.
Okay. So I am self-employed as well, and I'm 1099 technically. I'm contracted out. However, my CPA encouraged me to set up the LLC, obviously, but then an S corp. So
Yes.
on paper, I'm not employed by anybody, but like I have my own business and I'm listed as the only employee. So after 2 years of that, you can submit your own W-2s from your business as
Yes.
that. That's how we set it up, so that I could submit that after 2 years. Now I know that's like 2 years out, but I'm just saying like long term, there's a solution for that.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the big not issue, but that's for anyone who is self-employed and you make you profit over $50,000 a year, you should definitely set up an S corp. Like you're going to save so much in taxes.
So much in taxes.
So much in
Yes.
taxes. You just want to make sure that you're showing your W-2 as enough income to qualify for a property, right? So like, I know, for example, for me, I had my W-2 income as very low and was taking dividends, right? So that I didn't have to pay as much taxes and blah, 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 blah. So you just want to start shifting that to show more as your W-2 income and less as dividends.
So I did the exact same thing, and that was the question I was going to ask, but I just couldn't type fast enough. I did the exact same thing. My CPA suggested just to put something lower, because by the time we're older, we really can't bank on Social Security at this point.
Exactly.
And like, you need to be putting your money that I guess you're not putting on your W-2 to like investment. So I put my pay as like 20 something thousand lower than what it should be. And now I'm like wondering if I just like kicked myself in the butt. So how quickly does it take effect if I raise my pay on my W-2 for my company? How quickly does that take effect for a lender to consider that?
So it's going to depend on the lender, honestly. Like I literally have lenders who will qualify you just based off of just based off of like 3 months worth of W-2 income. So every lender is different. Then that's why I say it really just depends, and everyone's situation is different and every lender is different. So you just kind of have to find the right one. And this is what I tell all of my students, like you have to keep asking multiple different lenders. And I have like in the program, we've got like a whole list of different ones that you can reach out to and see which one works for you. But yeah, it's like like I literally, one of my close friends, she's like, I just need an offer letter. I don't even need to see your W-2 income. I just need to see an offer letter. So there are different ways you can do it. Everyone's situation is going to be a little bit different. And then, yes, I will talk to you tomorrow, Gabby. And yes, exactly. We can talk about the class and the discount and everything then. And then I think someone said that they missed the whole session. No worries. If you are signed up for this, you'll receive a link to the workshop and the recording and everything later today. So don't worry if you missed it. You're totally fine. You'll get the recording. You still have the 48 hours to actually book a call and sign up for the program. I'm actually not going to be doing it live like this probably for, I don't know. I'm focusing on the program. We've grown quite a bit, which is really, really fun and really exciting. But yeah, I won't be doing a live call like this for a good while. Yeah, I can't wait to talk to you too, Gabby. Esther, go for it.
Hi, Olivia. Thank you
Yes.
for this call.
Absolutely.
It's been super insightful. I actually booked a call with you right before this, and I'm
Amazing.
noticing that this one says a masterclass. Would I still qualify?
I will write your, and I'll tell my
Okay.
assistant, and I will keep her. I just looked, I haven't been looking at my phone, and there's a lot of you that signed up, so that's so great. I will I'm going to text my assistant right now and just let her know that you are coming from the masterclass, so you are good. And same.
Okay, because I did book a masterclass one, but I would like the time that I originally had.
Yes.
So,
okay.
Okay. So I'll cancel the masterclass one because the other time is better for me.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
just wrote your name down, so you're good.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. What other questions do we have? Anything else? Also, was this helpful? Okay, it's 40%, a bigger discount. Da, 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 da. I appreciate your time pouring into us. Just get amazing. Cannot wait to chat with you, Heather. And Michelle. Michelle, if you want, feel free to just book a call and we can go over it and we can like dig into a little bit more what your like exact situation is. Just it's hard to go over all of that just here. If you want, or just send me a message. You can send me a DM on Instagram because that way I can actually go in and read it properly. Booked a call. I can't wait to speak with so many of you. That's awesome. Will there be another call, Brandy? No, there won't be another call like a workshop, but you are going to get the recording for this. It's going to be sent to your email here in a second. I just have to like go in and put it in the system. But you'll get it sent out, I think, in like the next 3 to 4 hours. I don't know. I don't know what it's set up because I don't do that part anymore. But you will get that later today. And then if you want, you can also just book a call directly with me. I take all of my calls, guys. And we can go over your situation and see like what makes sense for you too. But I'm so glad you enjoyed. My words, girl. Ugh. I'm like, it's been such a great day, but a long day. I'm literally going to take a nap after this, or maybe go to bed. We'll see. Awesome. Any other last minute questions? And I know a bunch of you have booked a call, so either way, we can go over them during the call or whatever that looks like. But amazing. Well, I am going to close everything up here. Thank you so much for joining me today. This was awesome. And I hope this was super helpful for you. I hope this motivates you, even if you become a part of the Wanderlust Wealth Academy or not, to just get started. And yes, you have it in you. Okay. I just want to like breathe that into you. You have it in you. Okay. Amazing. Well, bye everyone.